All right, so today we're going to dive into some pretty interesting stuff, I think.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
We're looking at this Ring of Fire YouTube video transcript,
Okay.
and it's about Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right.
And it's asking the question, is Trump already trying to push Ramaswamy out of his potential administration? So
Interesting question,
it is, yeah.
especially since he hasn't even won the election yet.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems a little premature, but that's what this analysis is about.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to unpack here.
Yep.
So this Ring of Fire take basically boils down to the idea that Trump is already trying to distance himself from Ramaswamy.
Okay, well, let's jump right in then.
All right.
So the video starts by looking at how Ramaswamy has been received by the MAGA community.
Yeah.
And it says it's kind of a mixed bag.
Okay.
They break it down into what they call incorrect and correct reasons.
Uh-huh.
So let's start with what they're calling the incorrect reasons for this reception. What are they getting at there?
Well, they point to this massive wave of racism. They claim that some Trump supporters are directing at Ramaswamy.
Really?
Yeah, and they say it's just because of his ethnicity, which they're very clearly against.
Yeah, of course.
They condemn it flat out.
Right. Makes sense. Prejudice is never okay.
Exactly.
So now let's move to what they're calling the correct reasons
Right.
for this negative reception of Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
And this is where they start talking about some of Ramaswamy's public statements.
Like what?
Well, specifically his remarks about American workers.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, so they highlight this part where he supposedly called American workers mediocre slobs who are too lazy.
Ouch.
Yeah. And he said that they spend too much time at malls instead of focusing on, school stuff.
Interesting. So, he's criticizing the work ethic.
Right. And that was back in the 90s when he said it.
Oh, wow. Harkening back to the good old days.
Yeah. But, not exactly the best way to win over voters who care about American jobs.
No, not really.
Especially when he then goes on to say that we need more foreign workers.
Right.
The video makes it clear that that didn't go over well with pretty much anyone.
Yeah, that's not going to win you any points with the America First crowd.
Nope, not at all.
It seems like there's a real disconnect there between what he's saying and what a lot of the MAGA base is concerned about.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when it comes to jobs in the economy.
Right.
Even if his words are being taken out of context or oversimplified, it's easy to see how that kind of messaging would rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially voters who feel like they've been left behind.
And then on top of all that, the video brings up Ramaswamy's wealth.
Right, the billionaire status.
Exactly.
So how did that factor into the equation?
Well, the analysis suggests that some people in the MAGA base might see his wealth as a contradiction.
A contradiction.
Yeah, because he's talking about cutting government spending and being for the common person.
Right.
But then he's also this super rich guy.
So the optics aren't great.
Yeah, exactly. They even call him a self-entitled hole at one point.
Wow.
It's pretty harsh.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're big fans.
No, not really.
So basically they're painting this picture of Ramaswamy as someone who's not really in touch with the average American.
Yeah, and that's why they think Trump is trying to distance himself.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
So how are they saying Trump is doing that?
Well, they claim that because of all this backlash from his base, Trump is actively trying to push Ramaswamy out. They cite all these reports and multiple sources close to Donald Trump who have supposedly told the media.
Okay.
Specifically, they mention the Washington Post, and they say that Trump kind of wants Ramaswamy gone.
Wow.
Yeah, they're saying he's looking for a way to get rid of him.
And how is he supposedly doing that?
Well, they say that Trump's been encouraging Ramaswamy to go after that Senate seat in Ohio.
The one that J.D. Vance vacated?
Yep, supposedly because he's now the vice president.
Right.
So they're saying that Trump is trying to nudge Ramaswamy toward that race as a way to get him out of the picture.
It's kind of like a soft exile.
Exactly.
But hold on a second. Didn't the video also talk about how Ramaswamy was supposed to work with Elon Musk?
Oh, yeah, in that Department of Government Efficiency they were talking about.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like they were presenting that as a done deal at one point.
Exactly. So how does that work if he's running for Senate?
Yeah, they bring up that point, too. They basically say that he can't be a senator in Ohio and also be working in a cabinet-level position in D.C.
Right, because they're both full-time jobs.
Yeah, they even make this sarcastic comment about not needing two people doing the job of one person.
Which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder what Trump's real plan is here.
It does, yeah.
So are they saying that Trump is just using this Senate race as a cover?
That's kind of what it sounds like. They keep hammering this idea that Donald Trump knows that his base hates Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right.
And they say most of it is because of the race issue.
Which is a pretty serious accusation.
It is, yeah.
And they say that this whole Senate thing is a diplomatic way to get rid of this guy.
So basically, he's trying to avoid any drama or backlash.
Exactly. It's all about appearances.
Yeah.
But then they throw another wrench into the mix.
What's that?
Elon Musk.
Ah, yes, the wild card.
Exactly.
So what role do they think he's playing in all of this?
Well, they talk about how Musk and Trump are super tight, you know?
Yeah, they mentioned all the traveling they do together, the visits to Mar-a-Lago.
Right, and all the dinners they have.
Sounds like a real bromance.
Uh-huh, yeah.
But what's the point they're trying to make?
Well, they contrast that with Ramaswamy's relationship with Trump.
Which is?
Apparently not as close.
So they're suggesting that Musk might have more influence over Trump.
Exactly. And they even go so far as to say that Musk might want Ramaswamy out of the picture altogether.
Interesting.
They even make this joke about Musk wanting the Doge office all to himself.
The Doge office.
Yeah. I think it's just their way of saying that Musk might have his own ideas about who should be advising Trump.
Ah.
Like maybe he wants someone more aligned with his own interests, you know, like in technology or cryptocurrency.
Right, yeah.
So it's like this whole behind-the-scenes power struggle is going on.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. And then they go on to make a prediction about who's going to be the first to leave a potential Trump administration.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Well, at first they thought it was going to be Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
RFK?
Yeah, they even mention all these reports about how Trump's people are trying to surround him with hardcore Republicans.
To keep him in check.
Yeah, to make sure he doesn't stray too far from the party line.
So basically, they're trying to contain him.
Exactly.
But then they changed their prediction.
Yep, now they're saying it's going to be Ramaswamy. Yeah, and they think it's going to happen much faster than anyone thinks.
So they're doubling down on the idea that Ramaswamy's days are numbered.
Pretty much.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. It is.
So let's recap what this analysis is saying.
Right.
They're saying that Ramaswamy is facing this huge backlash from the MAGA base.
For a variety of reasons.
Right. Some because of racial bias, and some because of his own controversial statements.
Especially about American workers.
Exactly. And they're claiming that Trump is fully aware of this.
And that he's trying to distance himself.
By pushing Ramaswamy toward that Senate seat in Ohio.
And they think Elon Musk might be playing a role in all of this, too.
With his own agenda and his own influence over Trump.
Exactly. And ultimately, they're predicting that Ramaswamy will be the first one out the door if Trump wins.
It's a pretty bold prediction.
Yeah, it is.
So what do we make of all this?
Well, it's definitely a very specific viewpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
But it does make you think about the kind of power dynamics that might be at play behind the scenes.
Right, like what kind of compromises and calculations are being made?
Exactly, and how personal relationships and political maneuvering might shape a potential Trump administration.
And it also raises questions about the diversity of viewpoints within the MAGA movement itself.
Right, like how unified are they really?
Yeah, and how much sway does the base actually have over Trump's decisions?
Big questions.
For sure.
So for our listeners out there,
yes,
if you're interested in exploring this further, I'd say go check out the public statements and interactions between Trump, Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk.
Yeah, see what you can find.
See if you can find any other analyses or reports that support or contradict what this Ring of Fire video is saying.
That's always a good idea.
Especially when it comes to something as complex and evolving as the political landscape.
Absolutely.
Anyway, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
I agree.
And I hope it's giving you all something to think about.
Me too.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.